Hey everyone, I'm Pam and this is my monthly update video letting you know everything that I was up to in the month of May. So after my internet was terribly acting up in April and I wasn't able to stream too much, I've been trying to get back into streaming in May, and while there are still issues on some days and not others, still trying to work those out, I was able to stream a few times and play through some good games. I will talk about those in the what I've been playing section, but I also went on a trip last month. It was my friend Michelle's birthday, and her and I and a whole bunch of friends got together to eat good food, play a lot of games together, do a lot of drunken karaoke, and we also went to a concert. We went to see Brigade, who's this really cool band. I believe I saw them at MagFest years ago, like 6-7 years ago. But this time they were playing in this smaller venue at a bar, and they have this cool thing where one person plays through a classic NES game while the band plays the music of the game, and it's all like in time and everything of going from the level music and then transitioning into the boss music and the completion music, and it's really, really cool. They played through Castlevania 1, which was amazing. That was actually my favorite part. And they also did the first Legend of Zelda game, and since there's not such a huge soundtrack in that game, they also, I think, played some tracks from other Zeldas as well. So that was really cool to be able to watch the game go by as the music's playing live. It's a really cool concept, and it definitely made me want to play Castlevania 1 again, because I played it and I was like, wow, this is hard. But then watching them play it, it was just like smooth sailing all the way through. Don't even have to kill anything other than the things you know drop what you need. So I'm gonna have to give those original Castlevanias a try at some point. But yeah, Brigade, if you haven't heard about them, definitely look them up. They do some really cool stuff. So it's been a while since I did a shout out on one of these update videos, so today I want to shout out Tamed. She has a retro game channel where she talks about a variety of different games and topics within retro gaming. She does some reviews of things like Altered Beast and the Seventh Saga. She just started a new series called The Intrigatorium, which is a pretty cool name. The first episode she did on that was about an arcade game that uses the music of Megadeth, and the most recent one was about the very first video game ever, which I knew nothing about. I think it will be sort of news and something to learn for most people, which is pretty cool. And one of her favorite videos that I recommend you check out is on the real life Metroid, and it's sort of a science-y video on something in real life that behaves like Metroids do. So if you want to check those out, if that sounds cool to you, go check out Tamarcade. So I'm going to have to skip the pickup section this month because I don't think I got a single game-related pickup. I probably bought a couple digital games here and there, but otherwise, no games, no new vinyl. So I've got some stuff on order still, but maybe next month I'll have some pickups. So let's move on to what I've been playing, and there's been a number of things, a lot of things that I either ended up reviewing or playing on stream. Also, I've decided to retire a number of games. I'll talk about those. First game I finished this month was Nightshade, which I made a review of. If you haven't seen that, I will have a link to it or something somewhere. And I was actually surprised by how much I ended up liking Nightshade, because I had tried it years ago, sort of near the start of my channel. Someone had recommended it to me, and I just couldn't get into the whole point and click adventure on NES thing, and I got frustrated quickly right at the beginning and ended up turning it off. But this time around, I gave it more of a shot, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. The writing specifically was pretty funny, so Nightshade is one I recommend if you're looking for NES games. Also, people told me in the comments that that is currently on the Switch online thing. I don't have that, but if you have that, you should be able to play Nightshade on it. The second game I played is one I played on my Indie Thursday stream, and it is called Dinner with an Owl, and it's basically a point-and-click adventure game with some cool time looping. I believe it's made by one person, possibly? I mean, no, not one. I mean, I know there's other people who did the music and things. I think the developer was called Bored Suburban Dad, possibly? I should probably look these things up before I start talking. So yeah, Dinner with an Owl was very cool. It had a very surreal feeling, had a nice hand-drawn art and really interesting music. And it was just a cute little, not cute, cute's probably not the right word for it, but intriguing little maybe 40-minute point-and-click adventure where you're trying to solve a puzzle to sort of get you out of this loop that you're in. And I greatly enjoyed it. I believe it's free on Steam if you want to check it out. Also, you probably saw I reviewed Vampire the Masquerade Swansong, which was one of my most anticipated games that was coming out this year. I was very happy when the publisher reached out to me and asked me if I wanted an early review copy so that I would be able to have a review done for like when the embargo was up before the game released. And I enjoyed my time with Swansong. I know based on the comments on my video, a lot of people take more issue with the visuals than I did. I don't care that much. I kind of wish they had gone with a slightly more, you know, less trying to be realistic style, something, you know, a little, you know, just a little more stylish as opposed to realistic, because you run into issues if you don't have the budget for that. But I am not bothered by weird animations and things like that. So I overall really liked it, especially how it ended up being a detective game and using your various vampire powers to find the information you need and put the information together in your head so that you know what to say to people in order to get what you need. I thought it was pretty good. I did have some complaints, of course, which I talk about in my review, but I was happy to have a new Vampire the Masquerade game that was more than a visual novel. Visual novels that I've played have been good, but it's not my favorite genre, so I was happy to have something a little bit more active. When it comes to multiplayer games, my Wednesday group, we've been playing Killing Floor 2, which I'd say is an okay game. It's basically a zombie shooter. You go through certain levels, you have little objectives. They're very simple objectives, like go collect 4 of these things, or fix 4 of these things, or escort something, or hold this place against the zombies that are attacking you. There's different classes, and I picked the fire bug. I don't remember what it was called, but the classic got to set everything on fire because I like setting things on fire. So the coolest thing about it is that you can play with up to 6 people in co-op for the missions, which is nice because usually things cap out at 4, some only cap out at 3. So it's nice to be able to play with a couple more people this time around. It does get pretty repetitive after a while. Like, there are a number of different maps that look cool, but in terms of what you're actually doing, it's sort of the same. So we played this for 2 or 3 weeks, and after that decided to move on to something else. But it's okay. If you have a larger group that you want to co-op with, it's a good choice. Probably one of the only choices. The only game I finished while I was away was the X-Men arcade game. A friend of ours who has a house full of video games, just a setup for 10 people, System Link, Xbox 360, a 4-player MAME arcade cabinet, multiple PCs, multiple CRTs with all of the retro consoles. Like, this place is just ridiculous. But the only game that I actually beat was the X-Men arcade game, played through that with 3 other people. And it was a lot of fun. Beat 'em ups aren't really my most favorite genre, but they're also one of the few that you can play with that many people sort of in person. So that was neat. I played through as Storm at the beginning, which I really liked. And then I sort of accidentally switched to Nightcrawler at some point, which I didn't like playing as much, but it was a fun game. The art's really nice. The voice lines, especially when you're doing your sort of super moves, are very, very memorable, especially that Colossus roar. But yeah, that's one of those arcade cabinets I've seen and heard all over the place, but this was the first time I actually played through the whole game. So after finishing on my last adventure stream, the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Rose Tattoo, which I really liked, but was also quite long and took a number of streams to finish, I wanted to play something a little shorter that I was already quite familiar with, so I decided to play through my favorite adventure game, or one of my favorites, The Secret of Monkey Island. I tend to play through that every few years, so I decided to do it on stream. I played through the special edition, just sort of switching back and forth constantly, going to the original when I wanted to see the beautiful pixel art or do anything with the UI or interacting with things, and then switching over to the new edition specifically while dialogue was taking place so that we could listen to the voice acting. But I don't know, what is there to say about The Secret of Monkey Island? I reviewed it long ago. I love it every time. The humor always hits just right, and the puzzles are really great and not too moon logic-y, and it's just, you know, kind of like a gaming comfort food to me. So it was good to play that through and be able to share it with the stream. A game which was recently added to Xbox is called A Memoir Blue. I decided to play it. I heard that it was a short one, which is kind of what I was looking for since I've been playing a number of longer games that I haven't finished yet. So this is a story all about about this woman, and she is a swimmer and sort of going through her relationship with her mother and going through time and sort of watching her grow up and doing all these surreal kind of things and seeing these surreal scenes. Honestly, it was just okay for me. It's mostly just you see a scene and you need to figure out what you're supposed to click on or move around the screen. It's kind of, not too active in what you're doing. The puzzles are, I don't even know if I'd call them puzzles. They're just simple, just knowing what to do, knowing that you're supposed to turn on these lights or take these ice cubes out of a glass or build a bridge that you can walk over. So it's very narrative focus while sad music plays. So it was all right. I thought the art was really nice. The story ended up being cool, but in terms of actually playing it, Lily, just okay. I really need to stop putting this tripod on a coffee table that Lily is always knocking into. And the last one in terms of games that I finished was Citizen Sleeper. And I started this on stream, and it's also a game that just got added to Game Pass, and it was just released. And it was amazing. It has a fantastic story. It is a narrative role-playing game. You are a sleeper who's basically a person who is like a dystopic sci-fi setting. How can I explain this? You sort of sold your consciousness, kind of. A sleeper is sort of like a clone of someone's consciousness that they sold that is then put into a robot body. And so you have memories of when you were in a human body, but they're all, a little weird and disconnected. And because you have this robot body, you need this materials or medicine to sort of keep your body going. But you decide you're going to escape from this corporation who sort of owns you. And that's what happens. So you've made your escape, and now you're on this space station, and you need to figure out how to survive or how to escape or how to start your own life. And it's just really good. The writing is absolutely top notch. Like, I would put it almost up to Disco Elysium in terms of how evocative it is and how great the characters are. And as you're playing, you sort of rest, and depending on your condition, your tiredness, what condition your robot body is in, you get a certain number of dice rolls when you wake up. And the dice rolls are already there, so you see exactly what dice you have. And then you go around the station and you can do certain actions. So you might meet someone and they want your help with something, or maybe someone has a job for you and they're going to pay you for it. And you have to decide what dice roll you're going to spend on each action. So you want to save your good ones for the ones that are important or might be dangerous if you fail. And then maybe if you get some 1s and 2s, you can like use it on lower risk stuff. So it's cool that it's strategic like that. It also has this great cycle day loop. So you're on a circular station and it goes in cycles. At the end of the cycle, you get your new dice rolls. Some things are timing based, so you can start something and 5 cycles later you'll have to go back. So it gets to be a really cool gameplay loop where as I was playing, I was just like, okay, just one more cycle. I'll stop playing and I'll go make lunch, right after this next one. And of course, I never wanted to stop playing. I ended up playing it in a few multiple hour chunks and it was just really great. It has really good art. I really like the music and the writing is really the star, and it ends up being quite touching and emotional, especially some of the story paths you go on, and I really loved it. If you like that kind of game, I definitely recommend Citizen Sleeper. And now I'm just going to talk about a couple games that I decided to retire after spending some time with them. I tried Nobody Saves the World, which I think will definitely appeal to a certain type of gamer. If you are more into this sort of grindy, repetitive thing. It's this game, you start off and you're nobody, and as you play, you can gain new forms that allow you to access new parts of the world or fight in different ways. And it's cool. The art's neat, the writing is quite funny, but just the actual gameplay itself, the sort of top-down combat, is just not something that appealed to me. I found it got repetitive quite fast. And the way that you're gaining new abilities is sort of by grinding, like killing a certain number of enemies with this ability or poisoning this many enemies. And it just wasn't something I was gonna want to play, I knew. So I gave up on that after about an hour. I also stopped playing Tunic, which is very much a Legend of Zelda, like the sort of top-down Zeldas. And I liked this game, and I do think it's good, and that, again, there's an audience, especially if you like top-down Zelda-like games. It's not my favorite kind of subgenre, really. And the best thing about the game was the in-game manual that you start uncovering pages of to sort of tell you more about what's happening. But the actual gameplay loop, again, just wasn't really my thing. Every time you rested, all of the enemies would respawn, and the enemies would follow you forever. Even if you turned on easy mode, which is something you can do, and it basically makes it so that you can't die, enemies will still follow you and just be bumping into you forever, and that got really annoying. And it got to a point where I just wanted to explore without having to worry about enemies all the time, and I just decided I didn't like it enough to finish it, even though I played probably 3 or 4 hours of it. Another one I just gave this a brief try was Weird West, and this is a game I was really looking forward to. It is a tactical sort of strategy game in a weird west. Obviously, that's very descriptive. Good job, Pam. You're in the Wild West, you play multiple characters, and there's just weird stuff going on. There's cannibals and bandits you have to take care of. And I was looking forward to it, but then I found out that it's a real-time strategy game when it comes to combat, and I just really don't like real-time strategy at all. So I stopped playing that. And the last thing, I'm not 100% sure on if I'm retiring this, but it's The House in Fata Morgana, which is a visual novel, and I brought my Switch with me when I went away so that I could play it in the airport and on the airplane, because that's honestly kind of the only time I play it. And I thought this would be a good game to try. And when I say it's a visual novel, I mean it is a visual novel. There is nothing to do in this game. At the very beginning, you get the option between responding to someone or not saying anything, and I have yet to have another interaction. If you put it so that the dialogue autoplays, you literally never have to touch the console. So it's very much just reading and seeing the pictures and hearing the music. And the music is quite atmospheric and nice, and the art is really nice, but I have the problem with it that I do with most visual novels, and that's that the story is told almost entirely through dialogue, and everyone talks so fucking much. It just gets really, really repetitive. I probably played 3 or 4 hours, and I just, there's nothing that's holding me to this. It's about a house which is apparently cursed, and there's a witch living in it, and you have lost your memory, but this maid is taking you through the house through different times, sort of like the Ghost of Christmas Past. And the first 2 stories that they told just weren't that interesting to me, and again, the dialogue was very repetitive, so I don't know. It was okay playing it when I was stuck in a metal tube and I literally had nothing else to do, but trying to play it again when I got home and there were just so many more interesting things to do, I don't think I'm going to be able to make myself play it for the 50 hours the game apparently lasts. So yeah, I think that might get retired too. Okay, so that is it for today. Leave me a comment, let me know what you've been playing, if you got any interesting pickups to make up for my complete lack of them this month. Don't forget to check out Tamarcade if her channel sounded interesting to you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.